Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Denver, Colorado, it's time for Franchise Bible Coach Radio. Now, here are your hosts.
All right, folks. Well, welcome to Franchise Bible Coach Radio podcast with Rick and Rob. Today we have a very special guest we're going to get to here in just a second, but we want to talk a little bit about what we call the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge. And you can learn more about that at franchisebiblecoach.com. And you can join the challenge there. Basically, it's a 90-day challenge for franchisors and franchise owners to get together along with vendors and suppliers that support us to really get everyone through this time, to build momentum, to keep momentum going. We had such great momentum a few months ago. We want to get everybody through this. We want to help as many people as we can. And we really want to keep these businesses going and thriving. And we also want to save as many businesses and jobs as we can, just as an industry. So that's kind of the cause that we're working on. You can learn more about the details. It's a free, no strings attached program. It's just everybody getting together to help franchisors and franchise owners and employees and staff and everything. So join the fight, join the cause. We appreciate it. And we're very excited to have our first guest for the podcast today. And that's Anthony Geisler, who's the founder and CEO of Xponential Fitness. Can you say hello?
Good morning.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. And then, of course, I've got my co-host, Rob Ganley, here as well.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yes, welcome, you guys. And I'm very excited because what we know is that mindset, what I always say, that if you believe you're a failure, you're right. If you believe you're a success, you're right. And so we really want to focus starting this 12-week program, we want to focus first on getting the mindset right. And Anthony, I had the privilege of interviewing you last year at the IFA event and wrote an article for Entrepreneur about Xponential and about your leadership strategy. And the thing that stuck out when I was getting ready to launch this program was that interview and the time that you spent. And you made a big point that your leadership strategy was this never give up, never quit. And your famous quote from the Rocky movie stuck to it. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is, growing up with a dad from Philadelphia, I ended up watching a lot of Rocky. And so that was kind of Philadelphia's claim to fame. And so I think I'm the only guy who cries to all 19 episodes or versions of Rocky to this day. But yeah, I mean, in Rocky 5, I think it is, Rocky's talking to his son, and his son wants to give up and quit. And he basically tells his son, hey, look, nothing is going to hit harder than life, right? And it's about now, not how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep getting up and keep pushing and keep moving forward, right? And that tells him that's how winning is done. Also reminded me of a quote my dad used to say when I was young and 16, and I bought my first Geo Storm, which I thought was an amazing foreign sports car, but it was really a Chevy made by Geo. And I told my dad how fast the car could go, and he said, well, it's not how fast you can go, it's how fast you can stop. And so same kind of thing. And so for me, I've always kind of taken that forward where, hey, we get up every day, we push forward, keep hitting our goals, keep staying on, that trajectory we're on. And some of the fun sayings we've been having around the office is stuff like, COVID what? We're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep adapting. We're going to keep changing. One of the quotes I gave my franchisees, every 48 hours I've been meeting with my franchisees on an all Zoom call with, 1,300 people. And one of the quotes I gave him was, Bruce Lee's water quote, right? And it's like, when water's in a cup, it becomes the cup, right? And so, how does this happen? How do you remain like water? How do you remain fluid, especially in these times, right? And so, you either have a fight or flight response. Ours is always going to be a fight response. And so how do we move and adapt and change and fight and keep pushing forward as life throws whatever life throws at you?
Right. That's a beautiful philosophy and strategy. And that's what it's going to take, right, for people to get through this time. And really, mindset is a big part of that, correct?
Absolutely. Just keep pushing and keep adapting. And especially with this, coronavirus, when you look at our business, 3 weeks ago, we had 1,500 studios operating, and within a 10-day period of time, we shut down 1,500 locations in 46 states, converted everyone to digital. And that was our mindset, right? Everybody did this thing where they focused on franchisees and everybody started focused on how many we were closing. Well, my slides and decks were focused on how many were open, right? So it was this percentage open, not this percentage closed, right? So it was the flip side. My finance department sent that over. I sent it back and said, I didn't ask for closures. I asked for openings, right? And so, and then we told the franchisees as well as our members, said, hey, we're not closing. We're just converting from the four-wall experience to the virtual experience.
Right.
And, thank God we, as luck would have it, we built, purchased and built a full production studio last summer. And we've been shooting thousands of hours of content. At our franchisee convention in November of last year, we launched to them our new platform of, Expo on Demand. So a Go platform, on the web and on the apps live that we were planning to launch in Q2. And so they already knew about it. They knew we were filming, we were building all the tech and back end. And, as this thing happened, I said, okay, we're just pivoting to digital, right? And we're just going to have to do it faster and quicker. And so that was what we did. I mean, everybody's staying up all night for a week, falling asleep, waking up, developing and coding more, and then falling back asleep. And we banged it out and got it out very quickly. Because our production studio, we shifted immediately to live workouts. So we're using Facebook Live and digital live workouts while we were finishing coding the back end so we could distribute the thousands of videos that we had. And then we distributed those via the web and then the app. So, today, it's interesting. We'll still process, probably about $30 million of membership dues this month. Expo wide, we did about 45 million last month in March. And so people are freezing, but they're not canceling. And the vast difference there is that some people are saying, hey, look, I'm not, economically, I'm not, there's no value in me on the virtual world. I want the four-wall world. But when the four-wall world comes back, I'm back, right? And so kind of hold my place in line. So our cancellations have all been in the normal range, which has been great. So there's normal cancellation percentages for us. Freezes spiked around the 22nd, 23rd of last month. And then they went back to normal range. So at this point, kind of everybody who wanted to switch to the virtual world with us has switched and they're staying with us, which is great. And everybody who said, hey, look, the virtual world isn't for me, I'll wait for you to come back to the four-wall world. Those people have done that. So we're kind of in a new normal for us already, in a new steady state of just operating the business virtually. So we're selling retail virtually. We're operating, thousands of lives. We've distributed over 500,000 views on our videos. We had 38 million impressions worldwide on our digital platform this last week. And so it's been interesting. And because of this pandemic, it changes daily, and it was changing daily. So now it's a little bit more consistent in the new chaos. But the company is all but converted. We have 2 open locations still in South Dakota where they have decided that gyms are still staying open there. And so that governor has led that state to say, hey, if you're worried about the coronavirus and you're at risk, then stay home. If you're not, go on about life. Kind of like we've seen Switzerland do and stuff like that. So we still have 2 stores open there out of the 1,500, but everybody else is operating in the virtual world.
Wow, that's fantastic. So adapting, overcoming, and being flexible and innovative at this time. And I've seen that with a lot of my clients that I mentioned in the coaching session from last week, is that the innovation, we have restaurant clients that are going to all delivery, that are going to special no contact pickups and things like that. So being innovative and adapting right now is really critical.
I mean, even just the optics of it. I got lunch delivered yesterday, and they now have this sealed vacuum bag. So they prepare your meal, they put it in the bag, and they vacuum seal this bag. And it's a one-time seal, and you have to, tear it apart like you would a FedEx box.
Okay.
To get to your meal, right? So even the optics of that is like, hey, when it was en route to you, it was sealed, right, at the restaurant, and it was sealed en route to you, and you're now unsealing it and going to your food, right? Now, whether that provides better protection or not, I'm not a doctor, who knows, right? But just the sheer optics of that, I was like, that's pretty smart to this restaurant. Hadn't seen that from anybody else. It kind of developed that. Saw the restaurants putting out gift cards, local communities saying, hey, support us through this time, because it's not for us. This isn't we don't look at this as an economic recession or economic decision. This is a physical decision, right? Where I can't get to you and I can't get to your goods and services, but I am willing to spend on them. And so we did the same thing over the first weekend. We put up a gift card site for all brands. Now we've processed $125,000 there over the last couple of weeks that went directly to the franchisees. So we didn't charge any transaction fees or anything on that. So the 100% of the money could get to our franchises and hopefully the employees as well. So they could continue to have some revenue.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Yeah, and you mentioned the number of stores that you have, over 1,500, right? And one brand new one in Japan, I hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last year we sold about 900 franchises. We opened about 500 locations. And, so we work at a pretty feverish pace. But we're still signing leases. We're still building stores. We're still opening stores. We've just opened them virtually. So our members that have signed up for pre-sale and have signed up for our incentives online, are getting to utilize now the whole platform. And when we launched our virtual business, instead of, let's say, for instance, at, Pure Barre, instead of them just getting Pure Barre on demand or Pure Barre live, they got Expo on demand or Expo live. So now all of our brands, any of our paying members are getting to see the content across 8 brands and not just the one that they're a member of. So hopefully they're getting some good stretching sessions in, some rowing sessions, dance, cycling, yoga, whatever it might be to help supplement what they're doing. And this kind of was a very quick coming out party for our Go and On Demand platform and a quick coming out party for Xponential because, nobody really had any idea that Xponential existed. They just kind of knew about the 8 different brands that would be in their community. So it's been an interesting time as well.
Yes, and 8 brands, right? So we talked about that, and they're up on the screen. But for those of you listening to the podcast, we have Club Pilates, AKT, Cycle Bar, Yoga 6, Row House, Pure Barre, Stride, and Stretch Lab, right? Did I get them all right?
Yes, that's all of them. Those are all the names of the kids.
Very good. Yes, and thank you for supporting our Wall of Fame and being a part of this whole movement to help franchises. It's an honor to have such a superstar franchising on our show. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, you mentioned the size of the company, and you have how many employees company-wide now?
200 employees, all on the support side of the business. We have about another 100 employees in a handful of corporate stores that we have. The franchisor support side of the business, about 200.
Yeah. And then the franchise network, the number of employees there has got to be massive as well.
Yeah, it's somewhere, you look at 1,500 stores and between, 2 or 3 front desk people, both full-time and part-time, and, 5 or 6 instructors on average. You have somewhere around 12 to 15,000 employees, the franchisees are employing in the United States between instructors and front desk.
Wow. And so, and everybody knows that this is a temporary thing, and that's, right. So you can still sell memberships and you can still function. We have to adapt and be a little different, but we know we're going to get through this. And that's why this 90-day challenge is so so important to focus on. But what kind of adaptations or strategies are you implementing for the employees to keep them engaged and keep them on board?
Yeah, so our 200 employees are still getting 100% of their pay 100% of the time. So they're all working from home, much like I'm doing. Thank God the company has had the ability from its members subscribing to the virtual platform and franchisees operating that virtual platform. Franchisees doing a great job at selling retail online, taking pictures of it, dressing up in it, selling outfits of the week. Things of that nature. So some retail is still moving online. Virtual memberships are moving where people are using our Go and Live products. Because that's still happening, the franchisor is still able to survive and still pay its employees. And so we want to make sure we're even more so dedicated to the support of the franchisees. I would say our employees are probably working 120% in this situation. Than just working their regular 100%. So the employees are very excited. I know because they've sent me many emails, but very excited to be able to still be employed and still be making 100% of their pay and still be there as a support system for our franchisees. Because it's very tough. The challenge is as a franchisor is, how do I support my franchisees with no money coming in? And this is the time they need the most support, right? This is the time that, whether it's quasi therapy, just talking and venting and walking through and coaching, or it's actual, hey, how do I upload this video? How do I charge somebody for this? How do I overcome this objection? How do I freeze and unfreeze people? All these different things that they dealt with before, but not plugged into this small window of time at this kind of volume. And so we've converted our real estate department really from signing leases to amending leases for franchisees to get them rent abatements and things of that nature so that they can continue to, have the cash flow. What employees do I keep? How do I furlough employees? We've taken our entire finance department, which is, a dozen or so people, and our accounting department and turned them into, government relief and PPP, advisors and experts. I said, hey, I want you guys to get together and I want you to answer questions better than the government can, right? And I want you to be able to fill out these applications for franchisees and be a real resource of real information. And so kind of mobilized our different departments that, no disrespect to our accounting department, but it's like, hey, what are you accounting for at this point, right? We're just here to support. So now you guys need to make sure that we're implementing these functions for franchisees. So we've kind of adapted our different departments and their skill sets to be able to support franchisees in a way that, they didn't need to before. We're working with the top 50 REITs across the country, making sure we're getting concessions for our franchisees because we have the leverage because we're a big player in the real estate market, right? And so this is the time when a franchisee needs their franchisor to step in and give that level of support. So we're happy that, there's still revenue coming through so that there's still royalty coming through so that we can still provide that level of support. We looked at saying, hey, do we not charge royalty on the money that's coming in, but then we would have to get rid of the support. And so,
right.
Is the hundreds of dollars, our average franchisee is paying about $550 at this time a month in royalties. So, is that support worth it, right? Are they going to harm themselves or not, not be able to get that? Can we get that in a rent concession for them? 1 month, $10,000 rent concession that maybe we could get them that they couldn't get, pays for that, 20 times over. So that's how we've kind of looked at it is, let's not shut down, like I said, no disrespect to other people who have done that, but some people said, it's that fight or flight response that I started the podcast with, right? And so ours was like, no, we're going to stand up, we're going to fight, we're going to go earn our money, we're going to earn our royalty, we're going to be a better support for the franchisees in their time of need, and we're going to push through this. And the one thing people don't know is the timing, right? If we knew this was 2 weeks long, I mean, sure, I would pay royalty for 2 weeks, we'll keep everything up and running, great. If it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, but we had to take the approach of instead of furloughing employees to save cash, let's go out and make cash. Let's go out and build cash. Let's go out and push forward in this time so that we are there for the franchisees and we're able to provide that support level that they expect and more so that they're going to need at this point.
Well, that's great advice, because a lot of times people think about shutting down and not moving forward, right? And that's
right.
That attitude of that mindset of winning instead of locking down and hunkering down, right? And you
like we talked about with Rocky, when you start getting punched in the face, your natural tendency is to move away from what's punching you in the face, right? Like it's like, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to feel that anymore. And the response is to back off of what doesn't feel good, as opposed to, hey, this doesn't feel good. This is uncomfortable, but I've got to go toward it. I've got to go toward what's uncomfortable, and I got to push through what's uncomfortable to get to the other side of it, right? Because like Rocky said, that's how winning is done, right? So we can only win by pushing through the opponent. And today, that adversity and opponent is COVID-19. And how do we adapt into that world? How do we adapt into the new normal? And the new normal is that nothing is normal. So, just be fluid in that and realize that and get comfortable with that and choose that, right? As opposed to being a victim of what's happening, choose it and say, hey, I'm choosing COVID-19, right? I'm choosing this situation. I'm going to push into this situation and overcome in this situation, as opposed to letting it come to you.
Absolutely. Yes, great advice. And when we were talking about mindset in the coaching session last week, I talked about getting ready for this 12-week challenge. And the first thing was, we're going to get in the right mindset. And then we needed some things that we could measure. So I asked everybody to kind of look back and get back to some of the basics, which is goal setting, set goals for the next 90 days. Because when things were good, I said in the article that it's kind of like we collectively went off a cliff several weeks ago, because the economy was great. Everybody was making money. It was even hard to hire people. Remember that?
Yep.
Couldn't hire anybody because the job market was so good. And then all of a sudden we collectively went off the cliff together, like you said. So goal setting may have been something that was kind of by the wayside, but back to the fundamentals. How has the goal setting changed for you guys? And then breaking them down into KPIs is what we asked them to do, so that we can measure over the next 3 months. Have you changed your goal setting and KPIs a little bit, or is it kind of this business as usual?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're a good blend between me and my finance and accounting department. My CFO and I see everything completely different, right? Mine is glass is half full and overflowing, and he's like, "What glass are you looking at?" I'm looking at the one with a hole in the bottom of it, right? So I think the two of us are a good blend, and so our current goal setting is blending between my world, which is, hey, we're still going to hit budget, we're still going to achieve all of our goals, we're just pushing forward, and his, which is like, hey, the world is ending. We've got a plan for the world ending and the apocalypse. And so, we've adjusted in the middle of that. So him and I have negotiated out, what we think different costs will be. But, one thing that's interesting, and people have called me a lot and commented on, my energy level, or the fact that I'm not like, hiding in a corner somewhere down in the dumps, that I'm still getting up every morning, getting showered, getting dressed, and working, my full day. And, from my standpoint, it's like, some part of me kind of enjoys wartime, right? Because you get very effective, you get very efficient, right? And like you said, when you start to enjoy peacetime, where you're just hanging out, and there's no enemy fire, there's no adversity, you're just kind of, the adversity is like, how much bigger can we grow? And that's the challenge, right? It's not like, how do I push forward while I'm taking on enemy fire? That becomes a different game. Right. And so that's where we are today, is pushing forward there. And so, you're looking for cost savings where you didn't need to look for them before, right? And so, for instance, I found that, we were spending money on old email accounts with Google that, we had transferred from, and then they were just still sitting there, tens of thousands of dollars of email accounts that no one had checked in a year, right? Well, why? Because you're growing so quickly, and you're selling franchises, you're operating, you're opening more, and nobody has time or cares to go check about those old accounts that you're paying for, right? Software licenses, for instance, right? You look at a company like ours, can't tell you how many people have bought and rebought the same license, whatever that license is, right? You have 800 people with a SurveyMonkey account, and you're like, why don't we just have one, right? That gives us multiple licenses and discounts. So just things we've looked at. Obviously some savings in travel, right? Because we travel a lot, bringing franchisees in and traveling to the stores. So meals and entertainment, travel, that stuff's gone to zero. So that kind of helps out in the budget for somebody like us that spends a lot of time in that. So there's been savings. There's been a handful of things where I've looked at it and been like, hey, shame on me and shame on us because we weren't paying attention to this stuff while it was good. So therefore, we weren't being effective and efficient. Cutting it out is not something that hurts our franchisees or us. I mean, if anything, it hurts Gmail that, we were still paying for Gmail addresses that nobody was using. So it's stuff like that where we're having to look now, right? Accounts receivable where people owed us money and, we weren't doing a great job collecting it because we had enough, right? So I think that's where businesses are going to get very effective and efficient. I was a franchisor in this space in 2008. So I have a pretty interesting perspective because I lived through that. My employees with me from 2008 are with me. My one employee in real estate, Richard, who's my first employee when I started my first franchisor, 15, 16 years ago, back in 2004. And I looked at him, he said, hey, it's 2008, baby. We're just going to implement what we did before, right? Here we go. Because this is like a 6-8 week 2008, right? Because we were back to talking to landlords about deferments, abatements, and we're starting to see some of these real estate trusts, being less bullish on some of the terms in the agreement. We're not really seeing, tenant improvement allowances or cost per square foot or those kind of things. We're not seeing that really hit the term sheets yet. But people aren't squabbling over who's going to pay for the AC unit if it dies in year 10. Where they're looking to get some leases signed because they're at least wondering what leasing is going to look like, right? So there's just certain things and areas you can push. I tell people go down your P&L, look at your revenue, and find ways to expand each of the revenue items. Look at your expenses and find ways to cut on your expenses. And we're paying our rent, we're paying our employees. Because we have to be able to do that to support our franchisees, and we think that's the greater good. We're not making money. That's fine. We'll go back to that. But today, it's most important that the franchisees are at least operating, right? Even if it's virtually, and that we're there to support them. So whatever needs they have, we can take care of them.
Yeah, and I know that when we met out in Las Vegas for the IFA, you were telling me that you kind of have this attitude of no person left behind.
Right.
Yeah. And failure is not an option and things like that. So that's paramount. And that's most important when it comes to what we call the servant leader model or the upside down pyramid. In my book, we talk about franchise owners come first and keeping them growing and thriving is critical. And there's going to be hard times as well.
Yeah, we're still bringing franchisees on. I mean, I've got 3 virtual discovery days today after this. And, somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, well, how do you think that's going to go? And I said, well, look, before we used to fly a husband and wife here to Southern California, right? And it's a nice place to fly to. We'd pay for it. And then we'd put them up in a really nice hotel and take them to a 5-star dinner and do all that, right? So I had a lot of expense to it, a lot of time. Some of those times you wondered, like, was that like date night for them, right? Where they just kind of fly out, be together without the kids, and there's a yoga business I can look at, right? But today, the 10 people that we have, we'll probably do 70 or 80 people through our discovery days, here coming up, and those people have got to be dedicated, because somebody that wants to sit in their bedroom and listen to us for 8 hours present, there's no hotel, no flight, no adventure, no food. No, nothing. It's like I would imagine those people are probably more serious, or they've got an immense boredom problem, right? So I could see those people, there might be less people that come to the discovery day, but the amount of people that actually sign may be more serious, and we'll tell. But, we're still doing those virtually. So I went to the office and filmed my tour, my opening, my closing. Each of the members of the team filmed that. So these people are able to get it. We're giving them access to our on-demand products. So they're able to take class at home, just like they would take class here when we bring them here. So by the time they log on, they've already kind of been fed with a fire hose. And then, the people that are on camera wrap up, do Q&A live, via Zoom call. And so, so far, so good. We sold 45 franchises last month, which was good. I don't think a lot of people are doing that in a pandemic. We'll see what we do this month, but it really is, like I said, looking at those revenue items, looking at those line items, not saying like, you can see people say, well, hey, for a discovery day, these people have to fly here. There's no flights. There's stay-at-home orders. This isn't safe. Whatever your view is, and it's like, okay, great, that's all true. Now let's find a way to have a discovery day. It's like, thank you for your opinion, and now let's go figure out how we're still going to get it done, right?
So there's a mindset example for the folks that are listening, that you're presented with what you've always done, which is a standard discovery day where people come to you. And when you're faced with the fact that you can't have them come out, you can either have the mindset of being defeated and saying, well, we're just going to have to wait God knows how long until things get back to normal. And then there's that overcomer kind of attitude, which is, no, we're going to find a better way to do it. We're going to overcome that problem, and we're still going to get the job done, but we're just going to have the mindset that we're going to get through this, and we're going to figure out a way around it.
Yeah, being through, like I said, this is like an 8-week 08 or whatever it is, right? It's like, how do you overcome these objections? And one of the things I learned in 08 as we came out of that, our margins were way higher. I mean, they were 25%. When I owned LA Boxing, they were 25% going into 08. They were 45% in 2012 when I sold the business, right? And I sat the employees down and I said, look, I don't want anyone to lose their jobs, me included. I want everyone to get paid without a discount, me included. But we're going to have to take the same revenue we have, and we're going to have to make enough margin out of it that we've got enough left over for all of us to be fed. And so we're going to have to get real efficient. We're going to have to start counting staples and paper clips and reusing them, or whatever we've got to do, to save $1 everywhere we can, so that we can all keep our jobs. And it just kind of became the mission of all of us to save our own jobs through being efficient, right? And so, but a lot of ingenuity, a lot of creativity came out of that in 08 for that business that we continue to use, and these virtual discovery days, I told the camera crew that was filming it, because it was all generated around, C19, and they wanted me to kind of come out with a mask on and say, oh, I don't need this because this is virtual now, and things of that nature. And I said, hey, if we're paying to film this, right, and we're going to edit it, let's keep it and let's use it, right? Let's not build a COVID-19 virtual discovery day. Let's just build a virtual discovery day, because in the normal world, how it was in February or how it's going to be when we go forward, right? There are people that don't come to a discovery day because childcare issues or timing or whatever. And if you have a prospect who is interested on February 1st, but your discovery day isn't until February 28th for that brand, how do you keep that prospect engaged for 4 weeks? It's hard to do, right? Yep. And so now with these virtual toolkit we've built, if somebody's on February 1st, they can't make the 28th, but they can make the 6th of February. Guess what? I can launch a virtual discovery day for you in 48 hours notice. I just got to queue up the people's Q&A times and set up a Zoom link.
Yeah.
Looking at people's availability and making it work, right? And so now you can do it. And now guess what? You're not paying to fly them. You're not putting them in a hotel. You're not paying for their food. And you can probably close your deal faster for less money. So why would you not want to do that in July or August or September of this year, whenever it is that we get back to the new normal, right? And in the new normal, you may have people who don't want to get on airplanes. So even if all the stay-at-home orders are lifted, there are people that are in their house not because they're being told to. They're in their house because they're choosing to be in their house. So how are those people going to buy a franchise, right? So there might be this smaller number of people that are willing to travel, even if the restrictions are lifted, right? So how do we continue to reach out to those people? We can do it virtually.
Yeah.
I think it's that, mother of invention kind of thing, right? So this creativity that's there, don't even look at this. The mindset shouldn't even be, how do I alter, shape, or shift just for this short-term period?
Right.
You might come with some long-term mindsets and shapes, of things and shifts of things that are going to last you for, the rest of your life. Right?
May change the business model a little bit or completely, right?
Absolutely. Or at least to adapt to it, right? Now you've got another lever to pull. We didn't have a virtual lever to pull. It was like, hey, if you can't come for 4 weeks, well, then I guess it's not for 4 weeks, right? Yeah. That was kind of that. As now we can implement something that, gets them the information faster and quite honestly more efficient and cheaper for us. Why would you not want to do it?
Yeah. And everybody in the industry agrees that when we're through this, we're going to have a global population of people that are more comfortable with this kind of interaction, what we're doing right now on virtual computer online than before. We're going to have more people comfortable with that platform and more comfortable with being online than before. And we're also going to have a lot of people that have been displaced or furloughed that are going to be interested in owning a franchise. So we're really predicting that this is going to come through this with a boom and a lot of growth on the other end, a lot of opportunity, maybe the biggest opportunity we've seen.
Yeah, we believe that even so much more in our industry, right? Because we're one of the affected, right? It was when this early shutdown, it was gyms, bars, and restaurants, right? So we were in the top 3 that got hacked early on. And so, for that, our people have kind of been out the longest, and the community has been great. Members are emailing all the time, like, I just can't wait to get back home. I can't wait to get back into my spot, get back into, taking class again. We think there's this new focus on health and wellness that wasn't there before. You see it virtually, how much we're growing on the virtual side of people even, interested in watching it, because they could just be sitting home and doing nothing. But most of the surveys I've seen is that people are doing 3 things. They're eating more, they're sleeping more, and they're working out more. Because hey, what else do I have to do? And I'm eating so much, I should do some kind of physical activity. Even if that's people getting out of their homes. I haven't seen so many people, the great things about this is so many people in my community out with their kids and spending time and walking and in the outdoors and things that just didn't have before that they do now.
Walking the dog,
Yeah, exactly. Instead of a dog walker.
Yeah, exactly. Have somebody else do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to be respectful of your time, Anthony. So one last question, and then we'll let you go. If you were to give the listeners one gold nugget strategy, the biggest takeaway that they could implement, and what would you tell them, those franchisors and franchise owners around the world that are just kind of feeling a little bit stressed right now, or a lot of it stressed? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say that everything on earth is temporary. So this too is temporary. Nothing ever was the normal, right? Everybody had a story that was normal, and it clearly wasn't, right? And so, this too shall pass, like everything has passed. And we'll get back to whatever that new normal is. That new normal will be great. You just have to be able to shapeshift, during this time, and be like water and be fluid, and, keep finding ways. Just say to yourself, look, there is a way. I've just got to figure out what that way is, right? And I got to be willing to do the work. It's like in our fitness routines, everybody wants 6-pack abs and wants to look great at summer, but you don't get that by eating a bowl of ice cream, watching TV, right? You have to do the work. So there's work that has to get done, and that work may be this mindset, mental shift. It's the work of looking through your business and figuring out how you can be fluid and adjust, right? Being creative in ways of getting things done. I've got a franchisee who is doing an Easter egg hunt on Sunday during her virtual workout. So she has Amazoned herself some gold eggs, and she's placed them in parts of her kitchen where she's doing her Pure Barre workout live, right? And everybody in the comments section that finds the eggs first, then she cracks open the eggs at the end, and they get a $25, retail credit, or they get a free month membership, or, she keeps posting things. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is a woman that is refusing to give up, refusing to say I can't sell retail, refusing to say these people aren't doing what they're doing. And we've seen a lot of these franchisees overcome that adversity by just saying, hey, look, there's a wall. I see the wall. I know I need to get to the other side. I believe the other side exists, that this isn't a forever wall, and I'm just going to go push through it, right? And that might be your head first and then your foot and then whatever else it might be. But eventually you're going to find cracks in that wall. You're going to find a way to push through it. So kind of how we started the call, really overcoming that adversity and just pushing forward, to get winning done.
Perfect. I love it. Well, Anthony, thank you so much. We'd like to also thank your team for helping put this together, and thank Anthony and Xponential Fitness brands for supporting our Fight for Your Franchise initiative and joining our Wall of Fame. And so, folks, if you want to learn more about Xponential and Anthony's team and opportunities there, you can go to the website and click right on their logos and learn more about those brands. But you can also go to franchisebiblecoach.com and sign up for the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge. It's a free program. It's no strings attached. We're just giving back to the industry that we love by offering free weekly coaching for 90 days. Then we also have the corresponding web podcast and our corresponding article that you can read, and our Facebook community. So join the Facebook community, ask questions, post your victories and struggles, and let's work together to get through this time and thrive on the other side. I think we're looking at greener pastures ahead, and I think we have some of the most exciting years ahead of us in the franchise industry.
Agreed.
So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rob.
All right. We'll talk to you next time. Anthony, have a great week. And
Thanks,
thank you, Rob. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.